progressive or detrimental to college students looking to pursue skilled jobs? My question was mainly inspired by the stimulus packet of Nixon's 1971 speech on America's worth ethic. He said that to improve their failing economy, that they must, quote, open up new and equal opportunities to allow a person to grow in their job. These are the needs of the American worker, the need for real wage increases that lead to a better life, the need for steady employment, the need for a safe and clean place to work, for medical care and a secure retirement. Alongside the regrowth of the American economy since, there is an internship boom in the 70s and the 80s. This is due to what sociologist Andrew Ross calls the casualization of the US labor force. Later on, in the 90s, there was a rise in unpaid internships, a concept that's been exponentially growing since. Currently, unpaid internships make up half of all internships. Along with this, they've also stirred up multiple legal and ethical conversations in the past few years, skewing the ethical approach to workforce in various ways, leading us back to my main question. Are unpaid internships progressive or detrimental to college students looking to pursue skilled jobs? So it's first important to understand why a student would apply for an unpaid internship. A driving reason is that not all companies have a trainee program or paid internship programs. A student that's passionate about a very specific area can request an internship, and not all the time will the company be able to pay for it. This way, they can have easy access to their field of interest. There's also no strings attached, so students can switch between different jobs. Ultimately, in the end, students are left with a network of professionals to keep in contact with, a resume addition, and a development of skills in the workplace. A problem with unpaid internships is that they only seem to benefit wealthy people who are able to pursue work without prioritizing their income. Most people apply to internships in college. Currently, a four-year university costs 76% of an average family's income. Alongside with this, most internships take place in expensive cities with a high cost of living, such as New York and LA. With families struggling with the cost of their house, their students' college tuition, and an unpaid job might sound absurd. College tuition fees have already shot up 42% in the past decade, and currently 63% of students are paying for their own education. A college student struggling to pay for their own college tuition and living standards would much rather pick a part-time job that provides payment over an unpaid internship. This leaves unpaid internships only available to wealthier college students who can afford to work without prioritizing their income. This perpetuates the wealth gap, as wealthier college students are the ones applying for internships, guaranteeing them company experience, while less wealthy students are left disadvantaged. This system ultimately prioritizes privilege over quality. Unpaid interns have also been known to be exploited for free labor. Over the growing cost of employee health care, pensions, and maternity leave, unpaid interns are becoming a free work alternative. Unpaid interns are not legally protected in the workplace. This is because according to the Federal Civil Rights Act, they're not under the protection of the U.S. Employment Opportunity Commission. Examples of abuse includes both workplace discrimination and sexual harassment. This graph was made shortly after Connecticut considered legal protection for unpaid workers. Quite alarmingly, it only shows 6 districts, not even states, that have considered the protection of unpaid workers. Along with not even 10% of America considering protecting unpaid internships from discrimination and sexual harassment, 3/4 of interns are women. It's known that women are disproportionately affected by sexual harassment in the office. A recent example of interns being exploited was in the highly publicized and infamous Black Swan lawsuit, where Fox Searchlight Photos was sued for taking advantage of their interns, breaking both federal and minimum wage laws. They were found guilty of exploitation. Along with this, there have been over 30 similar American lawsuits against NBC, Sony, Donna Karan, and the Pittsburgh Power football team for unfair treatment of unpaid workers. Due to the gray area on what differentiates an a paid worker with an unpaid intern, many of these lawsuits are still ongoing. Ultimately, interns face dangerous vulnerabilities in the workplace due to their legal statuses. However, due to the uprising controversy surrounding unpaid internships, the Supreme Court recently published 6 official requirements for an unpaid internship. The Supreme Court's official factors are as follows. 1, the internship, even though it includes actual operation of the facilities of the employer, is similar to training that would be given in an educational environment. Secondly, the internship experience is for the benefit of the intern. 3, the intern does not displace regular employees, but works under close supervision of existing staff. 4, the employer that provides the training derives no immediate advantage from the activities of the intern, and on occasions, its operations may actually be impeded. 5, the intern is not necessarily entitled to a job at the conclusion of the internship. And 6, the employer and the intern must understand that the intern is not entitled to wages for the time spent in the internship. So these rules are set in place so that unpaid interns understand their rights and they have the proper knowledge so that they can potentially accuse their future employers of exploitation or disobeying intern laws. It's important to know that interns are aware of their rights so that the employers can avoid taking advantage of their positions. Some may argue that the experience of an unpaid internship might be worth the extra toil and will ultimately get you a job offer. However, this isn't true in most cases. The National Association of Colleges and Employers interviewed 9,200 college graduates in 2013. They found out that students with a paid internship received 24% more job offers than people with unpaid internships, who only received about 2% more job offers than people without internships at all. Another survey was cast out by a nonprofit group called Intern Bridge, where they surveyed 11,000 college students during the fall. This is different from the last graph because they interviewed college students overall and not just ones that received job offers. And again, there's an imbalance on the success of unpaid interns versus paid interns, with paid interns always getting 20% more job offers. Other data from Intern Bridge compares the GPA of unpaid interns and paid interns. This graph shows that there's no skill difference between the unpaid interns, meaning that this just gives paid interns advantage in the workplace. In conclusion, unpaid internships create unequal opportunities for students and are therefore detrimental to students looking to pursue white-collar and entertainment jobs. A suggestion for creating equity in the workplace is to pay all interns at least minimum wage. Some highly regarded companies, such as the New York Times and The Atlantic, have began doing this practice. They begin paying their interns that were once unpaid, and in a perfect, obviously not all unpaid internships can be wiped out, but employers must make sure that both parties understand the limitation and agreements set for an intern's legal status. If more people and interns are informed, then we can avoid the unfair treatment of interns and improve the chances of opening up a new and equal opportunities to allow a person to grow in their job. Thank you.
Okay, Izzy, can you share with us what you feel like was one of the biggest challenges that you faced in researching this topic?
One of the biggest challenges that I faced in this topic was that mostly the information that I was receiving, they were all solely opinion-based, and there were a lot of stories of college students saying like, oh, I worked really hard for this job at an internship, but then I ultimately didn't get it in the end. And not a lot of it was actually based in facts that I could bring up. and a lot of it is theoretical. Like one of my main points about college students, about how only wealthier college students can apply to unpaid internships, a lot of it was theoretical. So that's one challenge that I had, but I just did more research.
Okay, all right, good. And after doing this research on this topic, has it changed your thinking at all about the topic?
I first walked into the topic while I was doing an unpaid internship, which was funny to me because it wasn't something that I had completely, I didn't, certainly like now I appreciate the fact that I'm able to do one much more, but what really surprised me is that ultimately the whole situation of unpaid internships being detrimental to the workforce was not as big as a topic as I thought it would be. And in the end, it just again boiled down to super personal stories about people's experiences. So mostly I thought that this was way, the scope was way smaller